In this episode, I am joined by Ka Ling Wu, co founder and CEO of Upsolve AI, a customer facing analytics platform. Ka shares her journey and her background in rugby, working at Palantir, and more. We dive into Upsolve's mission to help companies build and offer analytics to their customers using AI to create hyper personalized dashboards. Hey, hi, Kaling. Thanks for joining me on the podcast.
Well, Fijesh, great to see you again. It's been a while since we saw each other at Inbound, and I think we ran into each other at another conference. Right? Which one was it?
It was Inbound in Boston, HubSpot Inbound, yeah.
It's been a
Believe
while.
it or not, it was my first inbound, so I'm glad I
It's been my
ran.
first Inbound as well. So,
Yeah, nice. How did you like it?
it was a really fun experience. Obviously, very stressful as well because we were part of the $1 million pitch competition
Yeah.
attendees. But it was really good. Got home with a win as well.
And was it your first time in Boston or?
No, so I used to go to school. I went to uni in Providence, Rhode Island, Brown University. So it's just an hour bus ride from Boston. So I used to
I missed
travel to
that.
Boston actually quite often, and I
Nice.
still have a lot of good friends in the area.
Yeah, what time were you there? I actually was in Boston between 2001 and even.
Into each other as slush as well, or no?
Ooh, I think I saw you post. You did go to Slush. I remember you posting about it.
Yeah.
I've been a regular at Slush. This was my ninth Slush.
Okay, so yeah, so we saw each other. I was chatting with someone. You saw me. You tapped me. And then
Yeah.
but then you were like, "Hey, I don't want to interrupt," and then so you quickly bounce off, and then I would just, it was like a packed day, like everything going on, because I
That
think that was
is.
the last day and I have to rush out to fly out. So I didn't get to write you and then meet up again. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the thing. I remember I saw you at Inbound and then I remember I saw you in another conference.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This was your first slush.
Yes, first slush as well.
Yeah. How did you? Fun? Did you enjoy all the
It was good.
parties?
It was very slushy, but it was really cool to meet different founders there as well and listen to many talks.
How was the cold for you? I came across you play rugby and you played for the Switzerland team, so slush might not have been as cold for you. But how did you end up in Switzerland and how did you end up playing rugby?
Yeah, so as mentioned, I went to school in the States for uni, college. Depends on where you are, geographically speaking. And that was the first time I kind of moved out of my home country and lived somewhere else. And so for me, the first question is like, oh, what is the best way to make new friends? And I was quite a sporty kid growing up. So one of the things was like, well, I should play a team sport, even though all the sports I used to play was more like an individual sports. And then ended up joining rugby in the States when I was studying at Brown. And then kind of the story just go there, keep playing rugby. After uni, I decided to try to get my PhD, try being the word. So I moved to Switzerland, I worked on my doctorate degree at EPFL. 3 years in, dropped out, but while I was there, I played with kind of like a local team, and then we're playing a tournament, I think, and then the sevens coach was there, saw me play, and then, talked to me and be like, hey, do you want to train with the Swiss team? And then that's how I joined the team. Very organic.
So how many seasons did you play with them?
I think ended up 2 years or so for both sevens and 15s. And then I left the country though.
Interesting. And so I saw one of your posts on LinkedIn around that, and the line that caught my eye is there was a photo of you with the entire team with medals, and you mentioned that it was when you play a sport, you play for the joy of it and how fun it was for you. But when you get to a competitive level, wasn't it stressful for you, and how does it translate to being a founder? Because founding journey is not a bed of roses either.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of parallelism or similarity between sports and startup world. And obviously, playing sports is always stressful, especially in competitive kind of contact-based sports. But I think what makes rugby special is you get everyone's back, and everyone gets your back as well. So that essentially translates to the startup world, how team function, right? Sometimes maybe the engineering team doing really well, sales doesn't go well, but the other day is vice versa. So that kind of team dynamic, knowing you're in here, kind of just trying the best. Hopefully, the full team kind of come up with the best outcome is what resonates.
And so, um, coming to Upsolve, do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys do? Why is this the right time for something like this? And what do you solve for your customers?
Yeah, so just a bit of the background here. My co-founder and I used to work at Palantir. So we're pretty much kind of data nerds, really deep into the space. We both started as forward deploy engineers, so working closely with folks who are operational, mid-level management, all the way to C-suite. And we saw how data kind of flow within an organization and how we help them in the data transformation journey. Basically, from there, we learned a lot. We built a product from there as well, 0 to 1, and it actually got featured in Palantir S1 when it went public. So that was exciting. And I think both my co-founder and I really loved the whole 0 to 1 ambiguity, making something real when people don't believe that concept should be something that exists. So we decided with the whole kind of Gen AI trend coming out, we just saw a lot of opportunity that we've observed in terms of problem space that Palantir now potentially have a much better solution to stop it. So we decided to start a company. And once we decided to start a company and decided to work in the data space, there are kind of few hypotheses we have. So first hypothesis is Palantir is awesome for the bigger guy, right? Like the Fortune 500 companies, enterprise company. And we always be like, wouldn't it be great to have kind of like a Palantir for the smaller guys? So that's like one hypothesis on it. And so we started doing a lot of discovery with company like startup or like high growth, mid-stage enterprises, companies as well. And then going from there, what we realize is there are lots of needs about external facing analytics, allowing those organizations to prepare external data well for their end users. And so that's how we ended up building Upsolve. And Upsolve, in a nutshell, on a very high level, we help companies build and offer analytics to their customers. And effectively what it means is embedded dashboard, embedded business intelligence, and now embedded AI. So the whole idea is dashboard, it's kind of dead in the past 1 or 2 decades. No one really loved the dashboard. And the reason is it's highly restrictive. So we're coming in here and to challenge it. Could we create something with the use of AI as a technology to build something hyper personalized? So when a user log in, imagine, right? I can tell the software, be like, hey, I'm a CFO. This is my persona. This is a KPI I care. And the software will automatically personalize it to this person's needs. And then when the user have any specific questions, the AI can on the fly just pull the right information, answer those questions with insight, and then also action suggestion as well. So the whole idea here is being the conduit between data and decision for the smaller guys.
Interesting. So is this for, like, just so that I understand it clearly, is it for SaaS companies who want to deploy dashboards for their users, or is it for internal stakeholders?
Yeah. So
Intelligence.
you nailed it, the first part. Basically, it's for the end users. So we focus, that's what we call customer facing or end user facing analytics. And it's actually quite different from internal analytics. And that's a reason why we don't really tackle internal analytics. It's like a totally different beast because if you think about it, when a SaaS platform need to offer analytics to their user typically prefer the path of least resistance. They want information at that point, but without any friction. While internal analytics, data analysts might go dig it in, figure out the data quality issue, write code, review the code. So the problem space is very different, and we build a whole product around what would be the perfect experience for a SaaS end user when they log into your SaaS platform. And now our customers are mainly SaaS platform customers, like building their SaaS, and we basically figure out this is the best in class experience in terms of dashboarding analytics that you should offer to your end users.
And so what stage are you guys at in your journey?
It's pretty exciting. We are now live in production, so our customer has actually embedded our things within their product. We're getting close to 20 customers now, and we're also in some Fortune 500 private cloud environment. So that, scary, but at the same time exciting as well. And so now the next stage is just keep building new features, keep pushing more AI and the whole idea of hyper-personalized software concept out to get that experience way more seamless for our customers and users.
Wow, I mean, within SaaS, that's still a big number. I mean, 20 SaaS products. How hard was it to have SaaS founders or SaaS teams trust you with the product and deploy this in production? And what
Yeah,
were
so
the
I
challenges?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question. So obviously, since we do embedded components, right? So our customer embed us within the product. That is definitely like a super high bar because if we're done, then they're done. And I'm sure no SaaS founder want their product to be done. So that definitely, we're very thankful that we have enough founders that put their vote of confidence in us. But I think one thing that helped us really well is the fact that how well we know about data through our experience at Palantir. So I think probably the first few customers are typically the hardest just because you have no testimonial, no credits, right? Credentials in that sense. But so when we first started, we kind of had to just lean on our expertise back then. And I think probably for the first or second customer, we also did a bit of data consultancy kind of like service to them.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, this is how you can do it and that. And so they realized we actually know what we're talking about and we're quite effective about it. And that helped us to go live with those customers. And once you get get to the 0 to 1 story, then 1 to 10 become easier because you can always reflect and say, hey, look at this first customer, right? And when you get to 5 customer, the 6 to 10, then you can be like, hey, look at this 1 to 5 customer. But yeah, we were really thankful that founders trust us. But also the other thing is when for SaaS founders, right, they're typically really good at adopting and trying new things as well. So yeah, that was very not easy in the beginning, but things get easier as we get more momentum as well.
Yeah, I think the reason why I specifically asked is because of the embedded nature of the product, and it seems like you guys are making good moves. So, Palantir is a pretty stable job. What made you decide that it's time to start something of your own?
Yeah, again, another good question as well. So I think it comes to me about the story of exponential growth. So I think Palantir was, after my attempt to get my PhD, was my first, let's say, professional adult job. And I'm super thankful, and I'm sure my co-founder is super thankful for that experience as well. And there are several like chapters for me at Palantir. So first chapter starting as a first deploy engineer, but then the second chapter kind of go into, I think 7-8 months in, they asked me, hey, do you want to lead a team trying to convert the first ever Korean customer? And I was like, sure, why not? And so I flew to Korea, was deployed there for 7 months, just doing whatever it takes to convert our first kind of pilot or contract. And that was a crazy experience. Learned a great bunch from there. And it's also badge of honor to be like, hey, I opened the Korean market for Palantir, right? And then from there, the second chapter is what I told you. I ended up building the product with my co-founder, leading a team, going it from 0 to 1. And actually that was the time during COVID. And our product back then is called Hyper Auto. It liberated ERP data. And during COVID, most of the, let's say, some of the most important enterprises, their supply chain was disrupted. No one was able to liberate those ERP data to figure out what to do. So our to give a promise that we can solve the problem. So we actually got a lot of traction, and it goes really fast. And this is actually one of the reasons it was featured in the S1. But with that, kind of start from for deploy engineer, going into very deep commercial. How do you figure out 7-8 figures contract negotiation, make that real? And then from there, going to a very untraditional path of product building. And then kind of from there, Palantir went public. And then the next question is that, okay, like for my personal kind of exponential growth, what that means. And I reflect the whole journey, and I really like that 0 to 1. And so always wanted to build something against 0 to 1. But when you do that, right, you kind of want to make it harder every time. Like, it's kind of playing Mario game, right? You want to make the next stage harder. And so the question is like, well, either I can build new offering within Palantir, kind of 0 to 1. But then you always kind of have the safety net of Palantir, right? And so the kind of logical thinking of the next step is like, can I build something just without nothing, just self-made it? And the whole AI trend kind of pops out the perfect time as well. And my dad is an entrepreneur as well. So kind of just always have that spirit in my mind. Yeah, and then just felt like, yeah, it's the right time. And you probably have heard now there's like the whole Palantir mafia, right? The founder mafia. And so a lot of my friends are building their own company, got a lot of good, valuable conversations. And when they talk about their story, you can see their eyes sparkles. And I was like, well, I want to give it a try. That's how I ended up starting the company. And it also very cool that Sergey, my co-founder, was also thinking about it. So the timing hits well. And since we work so well together that I'm like, I would do anything to make you my co-founder. And sometimes, finding co-founders, like whether you have good fit, like personality-wise, the ways of working. But then there's a lot of like where the person's timeline is at, their life stages. And when you get to all this consideration, the Venn diagram becomes so small.
Yeah.
And for me and Sergey having all those kind of coming at the right place, the right time, was just also another kind of catalyst for it.
Yeah, I think people don't give enough points to how rare it is for a founding unit to come together and line up for the startup to work.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so in your time at Palantir, did you have access to senior leadership? Did you get to talk to Peter Thiel or the senior leadership, and how helpful was the mentorship available there in the company that helped you?
Yeah, so Palantir is a very flat organization. Almost everyone, at least back then, I don't know now, like every new title comes up, but mainly for LinkedIn presence. But yeah, like super flat. You can always talk to anyone. I've been in calls with our Dr. Carr, Sham as well, and Peter Thiel. I think I missed him just by a bit because I have to fly a day early from the Tokyo office. But yeah, like it's everyone's super approachable. Even let's say like all your colleagues are just like great people to learn from as well. So yes, definitely great mentorship there. I really enjoy working with my direct manager back then, who was heading the commercial at Palantir as well.
And so, how did you land your first customer? First customers are always interesting.
So our first customer is actually Sergey's good friend, who is also a YC founder. And so we're doing a little discovery call, and obviously we decided we're gonna build this product mainly focusing with SaaS founder. And actually, going back and it's relevant as well, we started internal analytics. Like that was the original pieces, the whole text to SQL. And then as we're doing more and more discovery call, this one particular friend was telling us, it's like, hey, some of the content is really cool, but I don't want it for internal. I want to do this for my customer. And they're like, oh, interesting tech. And then they were willing to pay to be our customer. So we're like, well, let's start building something against that because they are willing to commit with, financial commitment, right? And so I started building on that, and we start building fine-tune our messaging as well, and then start talking to more and more startup, and then find a small cluster of customers that care about the same thing. And so that's how it started working. And then fortunate enough that we got quite early on. We got customers from different circle, like from friends, from ex-Palantir, some YC, but also just people we somehow got networked to. And so it felt like in the beginning, if we were able to pull people from different, let's say from different network that we're in, then it's kind of like a validation of the validity of the problem space.
Right. So you already started seeing a little bit of pull, and now momentum is happening. And so how was the, I think, if I remember correctly, you're the first YC founder. No, actually not true. I had Philip, who's Philip. Yeah, it's a common name, but I'm glad you got who Philip was. It's Philip from StarCloud.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that we're clear. But how was the YC experience for you? I had a very short chat with him. We didn't get into this. How was the YC experience? Would you recommend it to people even today with all the AI tooling and the equity dilution that they take away?
Yeah, the whole YC experience for both Sergey and I was spectacular. I think if we were to redo it, like to decide again whether we would do it, I think we would definitely say yes. That's for multiple fold. First, for the kind of mentorship we got. So our YC partner is Dalton Cartwell. You just know B2B SaaS really well, and I think one thing I would categorize him as being really good at is he's really good at pattern matching. I think I don't know how many years he has been working at YC, for 10 years or more than that even. And so he has just seen so many B2B SaaS company coming in, coming out, the action of them. And whenever we're in some sticky point, when we talk to him, right, like he won't necessarily give you the solution. And that's the whole point, right? They don't give you the solution, but they would be able to give you example with what they've seen, the people they should go talk to, or kind of certain pattern that maybe like, hey, you should think a bit deeper about that. And so I think that it's just really awesome, and I don't necessarily think you will get that kind of mentorship outside of because YC partner, yes, they decided to back us, they wrote our first check, right? But at the end of the day, they aren't VC. They function very
Right.
differently from VC. And yeah, so for that, that is amazing. And then the second one is just being able to be with I think for our batch, there were like 260 companies. So being in a group of super ambitious founders and just building things for like 3 months, 4 months in like a super high like intensity environment. It's just awesome. And then we make very meaningful friendship. For example, we still check in with some of the founders on a monthly basis about where we're at, asking questions, sharing ideas as well. So those are definitely helpful. And being a founder sometimes lonely and it could be scary, right?
Yeah.
Having those kind of commemoration like together is just amazing. So.
Right. And so you are technically, you guys are based in London physically, the founding team, right? Did you move to SF or for YC or?
Yes, so Sergey is based in Miami. I'm based in London.
I see.
Our core team now is in London, so our main team, we have an office now in London as well. Everyone comes work in person together. Yeah, and so before YC, we haven't started anything. We got accepted to YC, and that's how we started all the incorporation, etc. And once we got that done, it was literally like a few weeks before kind of YC start. So yeah, like we both flew to San Francisco. We lived there for like a few months just to go went through the program.
And so, I mean, I've seen a lot of posts. I've personally also experienced this. Once you get exposed to the SF ecosystem, you realize how conducive it is to the early journey.
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys thinking about moving bases, or what do you, and how do you compare the London ecosystem with the SF ecosystem?
Yeah, so moving to SF is definitely always in the back of our mind. We both have some kind of personal stuff that kind of not yet make it the right call to move, but maybe in end of this year or beginning next year we'll discuss about that topic again. Yeah, I think the good thing about San Francisco is just the high density of startup founders and everyone was working on the similar topics, and you bump into someone at a coffee shop, likely is a tech founder, and the idea just kind of go from there. But it's kind of like a double-sided sword as well, right? Like that sometime, at least for me personally, I lived in London for 6 years. I was born and raised in Hong Kong. I live 5, 6 countries now. There, it sometimes also could feel homogenous, and there do when I was at least in San Francisco, sometimes I'm like, well, I would like to see a bit more art, a bit more other things. And I personally also do find those conversations is helpful in pulling me away from what I'm working, give me inspiration, and then when I come back I'm more fresh as well. So definitely appreciate the density of talents, of founders, of startups in the San Francisco ecosystem. But there's also great things about London as well. But yeah, we decided to build a team in London. The other thing is also when you're a YC founder, as well as ex-Palantirians as well, it helped with the talent acquisition in London because you can automatically become the higher tier of startup that people are interested in joining. In contrast, if you're in San Francisco, right, there's just so many YC startups, right? Like it's just really hard. And so yeah, so we felt like there's always pros and cons, and we're just enjoying the pros in London while navigating our personal circumstance.
That's actually a really good point. YC startups outside SF, yeah, do have an advantage for talent, local talent at least.
And I think the other thing is that our intent is keep going to San Francisco often. For example, we're heading there in May soon, and we were at the YC alumni events last October. So we try to make a few trips every year, and then when we go there, just really deep into trying to integrate with rest of the folks. Especially now we know so many YC founders from our batch there. It's just really easy to plug into the ecosystems.
Right, right. And so for someone who's interested in applying like how did the two of you decide, how did you decide YC, and any lessons you would recommend to people who are trying to apply?
Yeah, so both Sergey and I are first-time founder. We don't think we know anything better, and feeling doing an accelerator program that is highly well regarded makes sense to us. And I have been watching a lot of the startup videos filmed with Dalton as well as Michael Siegel as well. And so it's kind of like I was already a fangirl of YC. And so when we decided to start a company, we're like, hey, do we raise money now? Because obviously, if you work at Palantir and now you spin up your own company, it's also not necessarily the hardest to raise. We're fortunate in that case. But one of the thing is we felt like YC just offers so much more beyond just capital. And first, and then the other thing is we also decided to work with the smaller guys, SaaS founders. I see it's just a really good ecosystem to have access to all of these amazing founders. So that make it the other pieces that are like, yeah, like we should definitely do it. And then in terms of advices for YC, is you should just apply. Don't overthink it. Typically appreciate when founders apply multiple times. Yes, like likelihood, a lot of people including us, will get rejected the first time. But the whole idea, right, is that if you get rejected once and then you stop doing it, should you be running or building your company? So I think also YC love to see the evolution from the first application to second or third, all the way to even maybe the 10th, right? So yeah, so my advice is just apply without overthinking it.
Right. And so, but you got in the first attempt.
So the story there is Sergey and I decided to apply, and I think that was probably like 3 days before the application deadline of the summer 23 or summer 23, I think. We just decided to work together, and so we have almost nothing besides I think field discovery call I've had. And so we're just like, let's just apply. And I remember we submitted the application. It was probably like 8 a.m. UK time. That was the last possible day. And then got an instant rejection like 2 hours later. And then I talked to my friend who were YC founder, and they told us it's like, well, of course, I was like, is it just because my application is bad or we're just too late? And then, I still don't know the answer. I thought that I should probably ask YC about it. But the batch was basically starting that day. So I don't know if our application was really shit or it was more like an instant rejection because there's no way we would have fit into the timeline. But what happened there is doing the application gave a lot of good momentum because it was just such good app. Like basically, I now also tell founders if they start thinking about the company, they should just do the YC application once because those are really good questions to guide you thinking through the business, what is the secret source and all of that. And so from there, we're like, okay, we're just going to reapply again, no harms, right? But what happened is that was then when YC had their AI early deadline. So basically, we didn't have to wait for the whole batch pass. There was kind of like a between batch deadline. And by then, the deadline comes, we already did a lot more homework. I have a prototype that I can click through demo, and then we just apply for that deadline, and then we got in. So that's why I say, right, like even we got also like we got that as well. So yeah.
Interesting. And so, how big is the team right now? You said you
We
scaled
are,
up.
we're a team of 5.
And so you not only got into YC, coming back to HubSpot, you won $1 million there. I was actually, so we met and the next day was the actual pitch and I saw you on the stage, of course, winning the competition. I was like, wow, that is insane. Winning $1 million. Did they, I guess, take any equity for that, for that $1 million, or it was no strings attached? And how was that experience?
Yeah, so the competition is always gonna be investment. I wish it's gonna just be cash as well. That would be quite cool. But we're still talking a bit about the details about how things work. So kind of just have to keep it under the low for now. But yeah, the whole experience was great. I'm usually not the best public speaker, and so yeah, having to pitch in front of 500, I think, or even 1,000 people on stage
Yeah.
is definitely a bit scary. But overall, very good experience. We have a lot of fun. The team was amazing, and yeah, just being part of Inbound was also great.
And so it was inbound a strategic fit for you, given like I was given your pitch, I was curious why inbound and why HubSpot as an investment opportunity.
Yeah, so actually, Not necessarily the most strategic thinking process there. So the price applied to be part of the competition partially because YC did not really give us a proper demo day pitching opportunity. It was all virtual for our batch. I think they were readjusting it post-COVID, etc. So I was
Right.
like, it would be cool for us to pitch about a company on stage just like any other startup. And then I got an email from HubSpot for startup. And because we use HubSpot as our CRM, I was like, well, why not apply to it and see what comes out? And so, yeah, stage after stage, it just happens. And so that's one part of it. But the other part of it is my co-founder used to work at HubSpot as an intern. So he know HubSpot very well. So when I told him, I said, hey, they told me there's this application, 5 minutes, I filled the form, just FYI. He was quite excited about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, cool. He's excited. We should do this. He's not vetoing it, right? Then, yeah, and then basically he wasn't thinking that I would make it through. He was just like, there's so many people applying. Let's just go with the flow. Then that is when we were making it to actually it's when we're in the semi-final.
Yeah.
I did it, and then here's how it goes. I was like, well, I try my best. I don't know. We will see. And that's when he brought it up because I actually never heard of inbound before. I know HubSpot really well, and I like HubSpot more than Salesforce. So he's came in and then was like, by the way, inbound is actually a massive conference. And I just like, wait, dude, why didn't you let me know beforehand? Because it's like, if I let you know, you'll be stressed and you're not going to do as well. And he said he knows me really well. So that's why he keep it, a secret from me. And then, yeah, like we got told that we're in the final. And yeah, and it's been great as well. We enjoy the conference a lot. Besides meeting founders, we also meet a lot of leaders in the sales and marketing space as well. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And have you, out of the cohort you have so far, which industry are you seeing the biggest pull from, or is there no clarity there yet?
So far, it seems to us that fintech, just based on customer counts, fintech as well as supply chain and manufacturing. And our hypothesis is fintech is always hard to bring data together. The data is very complex, right? And so to do data well for your end user is just not an easy problem. So that's one. And then I think for supply chain and manufacturing is the industry are typically at least like slower at adapting new technology. And so now they're trying to catch up. And so the delta between what the best could look like and where the state of the world is quite big. So people are very open to adopting embedded solution like ours.
I know quite a few supply chain founders. Maybe I'll make
Well,
some.
I should use it in the intro. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, of course. And so, for someone who's doing an embeddable kind of product, any lessons there or mistakes you've made that you want to highlight, especially for the embedded sector, people who are building embedded systems?
Yeah, so I think mentioned earlier, right? The quality really matters. Uptime is also really important. I think in the early stage where we're trying to move faster and break things, right? And we just didn't have as many customer. We felt like it was more okay to just ship. But we definitely have hit time in which you're like, holy shit, we just bought something down. Fuck, gotta fix it. But it was really good the fact that my team and my co-founder were just on it, right? Like they knew they probably shipping something break, but they're like, well, as early stage company, it's like just do it. But instantly, once we realized something happened, they were able to address it like super fast. So that was good. Kind of learnings that now where we're at, we just can't do those things again. So we have to put really good kind of QA system process in place, making sure whatever ship is being tested thoroughly. So that's one. And I think the other one is design matters here. We actually make a pretty heavy product investment in allowing people to embed our components as native front-end components. My co-founder did not like that decision because it's been a pain for him since the beginning of the company. But what's been proven is the bet was right because there are customers that came in and talked to us. The first thing they're like, if you guys only do iframe, you don't allow native front-end component embedding, we're just not going to talk to you. And I was like, well, good, because we actually make the investment on that front. And so, yeah, and then the reason why we did native front-end component deployment is the fact that we can actually integrate our customers' kind of company design system, their CSS kind of classes, etc., so that it really looks like their engineers build it in-house. So I think that's the thing that is different from between customer-facing analytics and internal analytics. Because internal analytics, it could look a bit ugly as long as
Yep.
people understand what's the data telling them, right? But external, the bar is not only it's digestible, it has to look best in class.
And so, for such a small team, when the bar is so high, at least at this stage, how do you keep QA tight? Are there any lessons there on how to run a tight QA operation and process given a small team?
I think, to be frank, we're still experimenting a lot on that front. I think the next thing, so now we have a framework as to how do we want to test it, to smoke test, and then push it to staging and deployment. I think the next step for us is looking into how AI can allow us to just streamline this whole process without making it super labor intensive on that front. And yeah, I don't have the full answer yet. My co-founder and our engineers are actively looking at, now that we have the baseline, how do we put AI just to make it 10 times better.
Well, I have a founder friend, testdriver.ai, plugging a shameless plug there of a friend startup. They automate tests, so might want to check them out. Yeah,
Go ahead, please make an intro or share the name, Test Drive, right?
testdriver AI,
Okay, cool.
testdriver.ai. Yeah, I'll make an intro.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. Right. We have reached the final leg, rapid fire. Nothing crazy. So, biggest lesson learned as a founder.
I actually been joking this to my friend. Everything in life is a funnel.
Everything in life is a fun.
Sales is a funnel, hiring is a funnel, buying houses is a funnel, right? In a way, it's if you do the top of funnel, like make sure it's wide. Every qualifying process is vigorous, so that it just dequalify people really fast. And you don't want to stick in stuck in the in between land. You want to either get to a yes or no fast. It works in life if you think about it.
Actually, yeah, even freaking figuring out a startup is a funnel in a way. You start wide and then you figure out, experiment, and
Exactly.
go narrower and narrower. Cool. One mistake B2B SaaS founders make when launching.
This might be more like a common, things already launched too slow. I think we definitely were quite cautious after our first YC launch. The second launch, which we launched on Product Hunt, in hindsight, I think we could have done it 3 months earlier. I don't know why we waited for so long. It just felt like it needs to be better, it needs to be more perfect for people to come in and try it. But in hindsight, yeah, we should just have launched earlier. So now we do have internal goal, which is every month we launch some more like public launches, once or twice at least.
Cool. Yeah, makes sense. Favorite book or resource for a SaaS founder?
I really like The Hard Thing About Hard Thing. It was a book
Yeah,
that
one of my favorites.
resonates really well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's a good book. Yeah. How do people reach out to you, and how do they check out Upsolve?
So check out Upsolve at upsolve.ai or upsolve.com now. We got that domain. And
Nice.
if you want, reach out to me at Kaling at upsolve.ai. Kaling at upsolve.ai. Or find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn as well. So
Cool. Well, it was a fun chat. Thanks for joining me on the podcast, and yeah, it was lovely to have you.
all right. Let's hope I will run into you in conferences soon as well. All
Yeah,
right.
same here. Same. Bye.
Have a
All
good
right.
day.
If you found this valuable, you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is. See you in the next episode.